Brynn Adams is a woman who lives alone in a small town far from any residential area. Every day, Brynn works from home, making clothes to be mailed. However, that morning, before leaving for the post office, Brynn is surprised to see a circle of bald grass in her yard. During her journey, no one in town is kind to her. Brynn greets one resident, but he doesn't respond. Then, when she puts her clothes in the mailbox, Brynn rushes off to avoid being seen by anyone else. She then goes to her mother's grave to pray for her. Again, no one is kind to her when she greets them. Brynn even hides when she encounters the parents of her long-deceased friend, Maud. Upon returning home, Brynn writes a letter expressing her regret over Maud's loss 10 years ago. Then Brynn opens her new toy house, displayed among her collection, and eats dinner alone. However, as she continues writing, Brynn states that she will never forgive herself. That night, while Brynn was sleeping, the bedroom light turned on by itself for a moment. And then the electricity suddenly went out. Shortly afterward, Brynn woke up to the sound of his trash can falling. However, as he was about to tidy it up, he was shocked to see the door open by itself, and a terrifying shadow slowly appeared, accompanied by a strange sound. Suddenly, Brynn was approached by an alien hunting him, and fortunately, Brynn managed to hide. After the alien left, taking the lighter with him, Brynn slowly went downstairs to close the door. However, he heard footsteps on the roof. Brynn could only helplessly hide beside the refrigerator. However, with his telekinetic powers, the alien slammed the refrigerator door shut, covering Brynn. Brynn, trying to escape, was hit by a door that suddenly swung towards him. Fortunately, Brynn was still conscious and tried to escape to the toy room. However, the cursed alien immediately threw the diorama table and dragged Brynn towards it. Brynn even managed to grab a sharp piece of his toy, then stabbing the alien. The alien immediately died, but the electricity in the house went out completely, and the car couldn't start due to the alien's power wave last night. Brynn immediately took a shower to calm himself and continued to go to town by bicycle. However, while on the way, Brynn saw an overturned car and a house nearby that was in ruins and bald grass forming a circle, just like in Brynn's yard. Yes, clearly the circle was a mark left by a UFO when it landed on the surface of the Earth. Then, when he arrived in town, Brynn rushed to the police station to report last night's incident. However, again, along the way, people looked at him with strange looks, and when he arrived at the police station, Brynn ran into Maud's parents, who, sadly, before Brynn said a word, Maud's mother immediately spat on Brynn. To improve his mood, Brynn intends to take a bus out of the city for a moment to find a new atmosphere. But the horror was that, along the road, there were many traces of UFOs everywhere. And not long after, a very suspicious man named Carjo suddenly attacked Brynn. It turned out that many people had been infected by aliens. Their necks were already infected with alien embryos, and they began spreading it like a zombie apocalypse. Luckily, Brynn managed to escape. He then ran to Maud's grave nearby and paused to remember her for a moment. However, a very thick, dark cloud appeared and slowly covered the city sky. Then, On his way home, Brynn also saw a group of people who had been infected with aliens, raising their hands to the sky. Upon arriving home, Brynn saw a trail of mucus leading from the dead alien's mouth into the yard, which was undoubtedly an embryo capable of infecting humans. Brynn was certain that other aliens would soon attack. Therefore, Brynn tried to defend himself by lighting the house with a petrol lamp, candles, and a fireplace, heating water in 4 pots to attack the aliens, and carrying a knife in his pocket. Brynn also closed all the curtains on the windows and covered the damaged front door with only a spray cloth. Shortly after, the nails Brynn had installed slowly came loose. The door broke again, and a blue light was seen pulling the alien corpse back into the UFO outside. After the light dimmed, the UFO attempted to search for Brynn in the house. He then quickly hid in the basement, only to see an alien come after him. Suddenly, the alien was beside her. Using its telekinetic powers, it pushed the table and pulled Brynn's scissors away. The creature also pulled out a childhood photo of Brynn and Maud. Staring at it for a moment, Brynn used the opportunity to escape upstairs. However, the gravitational pull of the blue light was so strong that the pot stuck to the wall. Dented, Brynn slowly moved away through the hallway and into the room. However, the alien simply stared at him with a very strange gesture. Despite being terrified, Brynn continued to fight and managed to kill the alien. However, the horror wasn't over yet, as a large, spider-like alien was on the way, ready to hunt him down. Not only that, Carjo, who had attacked on the bus, also came and dragged Brynn to the UFO. Brynn manages to escape, and the blue beam kills Carjo. However, the spider alien immediately pursues Brynn. Brynn's back was slashed by an alien, but Brynn managed to kill it again. Shortly after, the UFO returned and continued to chase Brynn with its blue light. Without thinking, Brynn immediately fled into the house and hid in one of the rooms, filled with letters he had written to Maud and photos of the two of them. Then, one of the aliens entered the house, and he was much stronger than the previous ones. Unfortunately, Brynn was finally hit by a UFO beam, this time a red one. Brynn was immobilized and repeatedly thrown up and down until the alien finally approached and released an embryo from his neck to infect him. Suddenly, Brynn woke up, only to discover it was all a dream. He was fine, and his house was still intact. Brynn was delighted to see his surroundings, especially his diorama toys, which were still neatly arranged. Afterward, Brynn was overjoyed to see the grown-up Maud approaching him. However, Brynn soon realized that Maud had died 10 years ago. In other words, this was all just an illusion. Shortly thereafter, Brynn immediately attempted to remove the alien embryo from his neck. Brynn regained consciousness and successfully removed the embryo from his neck. The embryo was then pulled back into the UFO and into an alien, which slowly transformed into a fake Brynn. Meanwhile, numerous other UFOs were attacking the townspeople. Panicked, Brynn fled into the forest and suddenly encountered his doppelganger, who immediately stabbed him. However, Brynn fought back and slashed the fake Brynn's neck with a knife, killing him. Brynn was finally caught and entered the UFO. The atmosphere inside was very dark, and there were many aliens surrounding him. After that, they touched Brynn's head and entered his past memories, like little Brynn, who liked to play house with his late mother. Brynn's house was surrounded by the police, and Maud's father was seen crying until, finally, we were shown his dark past when little Brynn and Maud had an argument in the middle of the forest, until Brynn reflexively took a rock and hit Maud very hard until she died. The incident happened very quickly, and Brynn had no intention of hurting his friend, let alone killing her. However, the incident really made Brynn regret it for years. Therefore, Brynn continues to display his photos, and Maud also wrote hundreds of letters of apology every time he thought of Maud, because the feeling of regret will never leave Brynn's mind. After seeing his past, the aliens felt that Brynn was unlike the other humans in the city and worthy of study, because the true intention of the aliens was not only to rule the earth, but also to study humans. They also considered Brynn a unique human, because throughout his life, Brynn never stopped apologizing and felt very guilty. Although the incident could be said to have happened accidentally, Brynn did not even dare to meet Maud's parents, and he was also willing to live alone in a house far from residential areas, because Brynn truly accepted his mistake that others could never forgive. After that, Brynn was removed from the UFO again and was simply released. After everything that happened, Brynn's relationship with the residents became warm. Brynn also helped rebuild some of the residents' houses destroyed by the alien attack. However, ironically, the people became kind to Brynn because he had been infected by the aliens. This means that this is a sarcasm that humans should be able to forgive each other, even though it takes a long time to understand someone's mistakes. Moreover, what Brynn did when he was a child was not at all intentional, and it is not appropriate for people who had nothing to do with the incident, such as the residents, to join in being hostile towards Brynn, except for Maud's parents, who are indeed parents who will definitely find it difficult to accept the tragic departure of their child, and the film ends